In the forgotten town of Duskmere, where the fog never left and the sky always seemed caught between twilight and dawn, there lived a very old man named Elias. The people in the village didn't know much about him, except that he spent every evening sitting alone on the platform of an abandoned train station. The station hadn't seen a real train in years, no whistles, no passengers, no bustling crowds. Just Elias and the empty tracks stretching into the endless mist. No one really understood why Elias was always there. Some thought he was waiting for someone. Others believed he had simply gone a bit strange with age. But the truth was much more magical. And much more sad. You see, long ago, when Elias was young, he had fallen in love with a woman named Miriam. She was the kind of person who made the whole world brighter just by being in it. They shared quiet days in the garden, laughed in the kitchen, and told stories under the stars. But, as it sometimes happens in life, they fought. It wasn't even about anything important. Little things build into bigger things, and before he knew it, Miriam was packing her suitcase. There was a train leaving town, and she needed space to breathe. Just for a little while, she said. Elias, hurt and too proud, only crossed his arms and said the worst thing you can say to someone you love. Fine. Go, then. Miriam looked back at him from the train platform, her eyes full of sadness and hope all at once. And with a small, broken smile, she whispered, "Goodbye, my love." And then she was gone. Elias thought she'd return. Surely, after a week, maybe two, she'd come back. But the train tracks stayed empty, and the station grew quieter and colder. Years passed, and eventually, the train stopped running altogether. But Elias kept waiting. Day after day. Night after night. Because what if the next train brought Miriam home? What if he finally got to say, "I'm sorry. I love you. Please stay." And then, one night, something extraordinary happened. It was a night when the moon shone silver and full, and the clock in the old station tower struck 13, a time that shouldn't exist. That's when Elias first saw them. Ghosts. They appeared slowly, rising from the fog like memories. Soft and glowing, dressed in clothes from long ago. Some looked tired, some looked peaceful, and others looked as if they'd been searching for something they lost long ago. And each of them was there for the same reason, to board the ghost train that only arrived when the living were asleep. Elias didn't run. He wasn't afraid. Instead, he opened his little leather notebook and began to listen. You see, these ghosts, they all had goodbyes they never got to say. And so, one by one, they whispered them to Elias. "Tell my brother I miss him. I wish I had stayed longer. Please don't forget me." And Elias wrote them all down, carefully, as if the words were made of glass. Night after night, the ghost train would come, and the platform filled with shimmering passengers, and Elias listened to every single goodbye. But not once did Miriam appear. Still, Elias waited, because what if tomorrow was the night she'd finally come back? Then, one cold, misty evening, a girl appeared at the station. But she wasn't quite like the others. This girl glowed brighter than the moon, her hair made of starlight, and her eyes twinkled like winter snowflakes. She wasn't from the village. She wasn't from anywhere Elias recognized. She sat down beside him and asked in the softest voice, "Why do you wait here, night after night?" And so Elias told her about Miriam. About the fight. About the goodbye he never wanted to be their last. About the way he'd waited for years to see her step off the train again, so he could finally make things right. The girl listened quietly, and when he was finished, she said, "You've spent your whole life waiting for her to come back, but maybe she's waiting for you to find her." Elias frowned. But if I leave the station, what if she finally returns? What if I miss her? The girl smiled gently and reached out her hand. Or what if she's already on the other side of the tracks, hoping you'll finally take the train to her? For the first time in forever, Elias looked down the tracks and wondered. Maybe it was time to stop waiting. Maybe it was time to go. So that night, as the ghost train arrived in a swirl of silver light and soft whispers, Elias stood. He looked at his notebook, full of everyone else's goodbyes, and he realized that it was time to find his own. With trembling hands, he closed the book and set it carefully on the bench where he had sat for so many years. He didn't need it anymore. Someone else could keep the goodbyes. Then, with the Starlight Girl guiding him, Elias stepped onto the train. The doors closed behind him, and the ghost train pulled away, vanishing into the night sky like a shooting star. The next morning, the townspeople found the leather notebook left on the bench. Inside, it was filled with page after page of handwritten farewells from those who had passed on. But the very last page said only this: "Off to find my goodbye." And some say that on the foggiest nights, if you stand very still near the old train station, you can hear two people laughing softly in the mist, Elias and Miriam, together again at last. The trains may never run through Duskmere again. But for those who listen closely, some goodbyes lead to the most beautiful hellos.